Hey, everybody, and welcome to this crazy emergency episode of the Blind Ambition with Jack Kelly. It's your friend Rick, and today we're going to break down Wall Street and the finance industry's 100-hour work weeks. Earlier this week, there was a Wall Street Journal article that reported about Bank of America Merrill Lynch and their investment bankers and traders pulling in 100-hour work weeks, working on Sundays, fudging their timesheets so that they can work harder and work longer and not get in trouble with their HR. And it's been having disastrous results. At Bank of America, there was a Green Beret veteran who died allegedly because of overwork, putting in all of these crazy 100 plus hour work weeks in anticipation of a big merger that his team was working on. Jack, you've been covering Wall Street
Mhm.
and this crazy work hours since 2021 and sooner, even before the journal, even before Bloomberg.
Mm.
And obviously, you're a Wall Street finance veteran. So I wanted to get your
Mhm.
perspective. Is this commonplace? How the heck is this happening?
Rick, it's so interesting. There's a culture. Any organization, any sector usually ends up having their own culture. On Wall Street, it's a very driven, macho, aggressive, hardcore type of
Right.
mindset. You know, the type of place that you use football analogies and army analogies, we're like, yeah, we're tough, we're
Right.
strong, we're the best. So it's for Wall Street, it's really weird. Let's just take the investment banking area, because that's where these folks Rick was talking about. A lot of them come out from have to go to the best colleges, best MBA programs and all that. And they get paid when they start out, maybe 200, 250-ish, just starting out, wet
Out
behind
of
the
college.
ears. Yeah, not really knowing anything, but they're betting that their pedigree will make them do well.
Wow.
But there's a price to pay. And the price to pay is you're giving up a social life, you're giving up relationships, you're not seeing your family, you're grinding. So it's a it's a balancing act. So they're saying, okay, we're going to give you, Rick, we're going to bet like 250 plus bonuses, and let's see what else. But our expectations, and at times you don't even have to say the expectations because you know it going in. Once you're there, you know it going.
Ah,
That's you're going to be working around the clock. If you have this baby boomer manager who doesn't want to do anything, he's going to bark at you and say, "Hey, Rick, what did you do this? I need you to model this. Hey, Rick, where's the data on that? Hey, where are we with this mergers and acquisition thing?" They dump on all these young people to really just grind out the hours, and they're dangling. You're making, 250 now, but imagine a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to make more and more money. And then you just get caught up in it. It's a wild environment.
can we put things in
Mhm.
perspective? Because I think the audience that hear this, they primarily work in tech.
Yeah.
250, like, yeah, that seems right. For out of college person, an engineer
Mhm.
might earn that just in salary and some basic stock. So what is the potential upside? 'Cause it sounds like it's a rite of passage. People are entering the finance industry, going to their Wall Street jobs, eyes wide open. They know there could be a big payout, but how large is that payout? What are we talking about in terms of TC?
It depends on where you are in the hierarchy. So let's
Okay.
say we talked about someone just starting out. Let's jump like a little higher. If,
Okay.
let's say, you're in mergers and acquisitions. And mergers and acquisitions, for people who are not aware of, it's when investment bankers are kind of trying to do a deal where they're going to maybe take over ABC widget company, and then they have to figure out how we can take it over. We can take it over with debt, or
Oh.
we can take it with equity. Is it going to be a hostile takeover?
Oh.
And because of these things, you're talking about not mom and pop shops. You're talking about ABC colossal company, XYZ conglomerate. We're not talking about small change. So when you're working on these deals, the investment bankers who are on it can make millions, tens of
Oh.
millions of dollars on that. It depends on how difficult and how complex and how long. But you're talking about 10, 15, 20, $50 million, $100 million, depending on what you're doing, because you're taking over huge companies. You can make a fortune. And a lot of people who are in mergers and acquisition tend to spin off and put up their own shingle and do it because there's the ability to make so much money. It's very different than tech. because a lot of it is interpersonal relationships. It's not because the investment bankers are building a platform or building some technology. They're just making money out of thin air. They're just doing deals to make money and get rich for themselves and get rich for their partners. Because at Goldman, other places, they may call them partners, even though it's not a law firm. Sometimes, so for the partners and others, you could make a lot of money. Let's say you're on a trading desk. Now, it used to be when I first started out, a trading desk would be this like, if you've ever saw Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, and they're on the trading floor and Mortimer and whatever, and they're trying to, corner the market for orange juice. So it used to be trading floors where you had on the trading floor, like the New York Stock Exchange trading floor, but also in Goldman and Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank and Credit Suisse and UBS, you would have these ginormous trading floors. It's the craziest thing. It's like an airplane hangar, like huge desks all over. You had people all over the place. They'd be sitting on their desks, right, all day long. Jacket, you come all suit, tie, looking all sharp. Of course. And you're sitting there doing your stuff. If you have the contacts, now you're in with the CEO of whatever big company, then they rely on you for the advice, like a lawyer going to for advice and guidance, how to get this deal done so everybody can make a whole lot of money.
Wow. Is it that the crazy work hours for these younger folks, are there just a finite amount of positions available on these trading desks, or are they trying to prove their worth or work crazy hours to get noticed, to get on bigger and better deals? Are they trying to compete to work at the top 2, 3, 4, whatever firms? What is it that just makes this so pervasive around the industry and so hyper competitive?
I think Wall Street still has that feeling, even though right now, what I mentioned about how you had these just big trading floors with human beings. Right. Now, the last few times I went to some of these places, it's pin drop quiet. You see everybody with their jeans, your khakis.
Out of the suits.
But now it's just like you're sitting and like playing a video game. Beep, I want to buy, 100,000 of these. Just beep, do this. Literally, it's really jarring when you go and you look, you go, wait, this is what it is? It's like the Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain. You're just like playing video games here with people's money. And it's wild.
Wow.
And there are different ways to make money there, Rick. You have mergers and acquisitions. You have traders. Some are still, human traders doing it. Some are algorithmic trading, like Renaissance Capital, where the head of it just passed away. Guy lived a long age, smoking cigarettes nonstop. He was brilliant, like one of the just brilliant guys. Like he was in the army and he broke codes and stuff like that. I don't think they ever lost money. They were a money-making machine, just printing money year after year after year. And they're not alone. You have Citadel. Ken Griffith, who's like one of the richest guys now in the world, he started out in his dorm trading. Now he has like an empire, had the know-how, the smarts, right place, right time. Billionaire, boom. But I think for a lot of the people in blind, having the tech, they need the tech now because you don't see as many humans trading anymore, especially now with AI and algorithms and large learning models. They're going to need more software engineers to help them make money, which the engineers will probably make way more money because there're not enough of them around who understand that whole new world, or they're a little leery about, I don't know about Wall Street. But others who are like, you know what, this sounds cool. This sounds like I can make a lot of money and I can have the prestige. And let's be frank, I see a lot of comments on Blind where a lot of dudes are having trouble with relationships or getting relationships, but you don't have to be a 6'5", blonde, blue eyes, trust fund guy. You could be just a really brilliant software engineer who's working at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or Jane Street or Citadel, one of these places, and make millions and millions of dollars. It's very different than the tech scene. And but the common denominator, I think, is both areas want to make a lot of money and be good at what they're doing and enjoy what they're doing.
Right. So it sounds like there's just that built-in culture of having to work a lot of hours because the deals, the stakes, literally are quite high. There are few of these deals. These teams, I imagine, are quite small. Everyone wants to move up, get that promotion, work on better firms, work on better projects, work on better teams. This seems to be a perfect storm in terms of 100-hour work weeks, which, I mean, to put it in perspective, if you're working every single day, 7 days a week, what is that, 13, 14 hours a day?
Mhm.
And let's say we give you Sunday off. Well, that's something like 16 or 17 hours, right? A day. What is involved in a 16-hour workday?
Yeah.
You're not on spreadsheets all day, I imagine. What is life like when the market is closed, when you're not on the trading floor?
When you're not on the trading floor, a big part of it, let's say you're an investment banker or deal maker, is they wouldn't call this, I'll call it the schmoozing, where it's
Okay.
you're taking out, the executives of this and that company because you want to do a deal with it. Oh, you're flying to Paris to do something there. You're flying to Dubai to kind of do some big oil deal. So the working hours could be even more than 100 hours a week, but it's a different type. You're not sitting bolted to your chair all day. You're meeting clients, you're going out to drum up business, you're taking people out for dinner, taking them out to drink, take them to shows, things like
Right.
that
Wow.
most people wouldn't think is work, but it is kind of work because they're not there to enjoy it. They're there so they could do business together so everybody can make money. Yeah.
And I imagine if you're on the earlier side of your career, you're probably the one actually at your desk in the office,
Yes. Yeah.
picking up where your seniors, when they're out, getting that intel, building those relationships. They're probably phoning home, AKA to you, and telling you, hey, do XYZ, and you're the order taker that has
Mhm.
to execute and do the tactical work.
Percent. And it's where they decide, hey, I want to do this for maybe status. I want to do this because enjoy it. I want to do this because if I move up the ranks, I know it's like getting hazed, right? I know I'm getting hazed
Okay.
and I know I'm going to get paddled on my butt or whatever it may be, but
Right.
I'm going to endure it because I'm looking past the drudgery of 100-hour work week. I'm going to get past where my girlfriend dumped me because I'm just working all the time. I'm going to get past that. I'm losing a lot of my friends who aren't in the same industry, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel and I have the chance to do really well financially and build something for the future. So it's a trade-off, but I think people have to understand going in. And even if people tell me, it's hard to believe sometimes when you have to put in so many hours, you're like, oh my God, I know you said it, but I didn't know this was real. This is crushing.
Right, where it's such the norm that you
Mm,
really can't escape it. When we look at tech, I've worked at startups in the early days where 60, 70-hour work weeks were quite a
mm.
slog, right? I can't imagine doing 100, or God forbid, you've written about cases where people are working 120 plus hours a week to get a certain deal done in your reporting on Forbes.
Mm,
Maybe an engineer right now, they might be working 50, 60,
mm.
right? In terms of counting their on-call hours on the weekends or at nights. That jump in terms of work week is insane, but it sounds like the compensation can be, you're alluding to it, Jack. You're not saying explicitly, but it could be in the millions.
Oh yeah,
Whereas I
absolutely.
think in the startup world, that is very rare, right? You might luck out and work at a startup, but it might be 5, 7, 10 years, maybe even more, for your stock options to really pay out. If you are working at a public company, I mean, unless you're lucky enough to go work at NVIDIA 3 years ago, I mean, it's really hard to say, and you really can't bet on it and be sure that these long hours that you're putting in can have these outside rewards. But it seems like it's quite the norm in Wall Street, especially at
A-
these top levels, at least.
Absolutely. Could I share some other areas that might be
Please.
attractive
Yeah.
to?
I'd love it.
I'm not sure how familiar blind folks are with hedge funds. That's another area that make
Okay.
enormous amounts of money, enormous that I would guarantee if we pulled up after the show, how many people on the Forbes, let's say 500 list are manage a hedge fund, or, the main person at a hedge fund. Because with hedge funds,
Right.
and this also dovetails with the technologists, because now, especially with AI, a lot of hedge funds are using AI and others to figure out how do we make more money using technology to do it. But with hedge funds, what it is, it's just a pool of money you invested in this hedge fund. If they make the right bets and do well, everybody there walks away with a ton of money. I remember recently a kid who I kind of know from his brother I felt, like, wait, he's working at this hedge fund and he's making like $1 million. He's a little schnooky guy. What the hell? How did this happen? So, so like
Yeah.
hedge funds for technologists, because they already have moved toward AI. In fact, I wrote about that too a while back, Rick. There's a guy, Marty Sanchez, who ran the trading floor, and he was like, the future, it's not going to be what I'm doing and everyone here is doing. It's all going to be the technology and software. But that's where all the money is going to be made in using that to make more money. So hedge funds, another area to look at. Private equity, like private equity is like when you hear about all these huge operations where they acquire other companies. It's not a merger. They're just taking and putting under their umbrella. We're going to buy big stake, run all these things. So if you move over to that space, once again, the upside is huge because there's so much money that could be made.
Right. A hedge fund, they get their name from pulling the money and hedging on these kind of alternative bets, these extended leverage or odd things, non-typical investments. Whereas private equity, they're almost kind of that to an extreme, right? They're the ones buying houses. They might buy rights to college football's teams, broadcasting rights, and earn money from that. I mean, these are the intense or creative things that require a lot of data, require a lot of tech know-how. You don't have to be a typical schmoozer or a banker or an investor. Now, I do have to ask you, Jack, outside of the investment banking cohort,
Right.
at these Wall Street firms, at these PE firms, at these hedge funds, would a technologist work these crazy 100 plus hours, or is it a different world?
For certain areas, probably they wouldn't work, those crazy hours because
Got it.
they're helping doing more of a function, but a rising tide lifts all boats. So you probably would get well compensated because you need the technology, especially this, because let's say with private equity, you probably see this a lot on TikTok and social media where like they own everything. They bought all these homes. Right. That's the
Yeah,
big
you
thing now.
Blackstone. Right.
Like, yeah, all these homes and now no one else could afford a home. Or remember with Red Lobster recently, the reason why they closed down was not because everyone was eating
All
too much
this.
shrimp. It's because the PE
That's
people,
right.
because they get a bad reputation, but maybe deservedly so, where they'll take over these different companies, but then they wring out all like the money from that they could do it.
The
And then
goodness.
they take the money, they take the profits, walk away and say, all right, good luck, guys. You're on your own. So there's a big need when you have these large acquisitions of companies that all have their own tech stacks, but they're all different. So now you need to kind of combine them all together. And then they have the big money for it because it's like going to Vegas and making big bets. And when you make big bets, you're making big amount of money.
Right. Or if you're a sports bettor, you're getting in the parlay
Mm-hmm.
and you're just adding leg after
Yeah.
leg to make this most extreme outsized reward. So is this trend going to last? Wall Street, it seems like they've been working like dogs
Mm-hmm.
for decades now. Is something going to change? Do you think millennials and Gen Zs are changing the workplace in other ways? Right? Like the tech industry show up in jeans, maybe even shorts, and all that matters is the work that you're doing. Are we going to see a little bit of a change in Wall Street and finance? Maybe not right now, but
Yeah.
maybe the next 10 years?
That's a good question because I have two Gen Z's kids, so I understand their
Yeah.
their mindset, and they think differently. They think about social causes, political causes, work-life balance. I get that, and that's cool. So they pay more attention to that. However, just like the hippie boomers, right, who are like go to Woodstock, hey, peace, love, sex, all that kind of stuff. Once they realized, wait, I got to make a living. They shaved, got a clean haircut, and went into a Wall Street place
Right.
or whatever. Even though now, you and I talking right now, chances are a lot of them, they have the ick fact, say the ick for Wall Street because, oh, they're just trying to make money and they're not helping people and they're hurting people. Yeah, give it some time. Give it some time. And they're like, well, maybe I should look into financial services. Maybe let me, I want to get a better apartment. I want to get a apartment. I want to,
Apartment, yeah.
right. I want to rent an apartment. In short term may not get right into it, but when they wake up and get red pilled, they'll be like, yep, sign me up.
I think what's really interesting from my outsider's perspective of never having worked in the
Mhm.
finance industry or having that close proximity to folks like yourself and your networks, folks that go decide to work on finance, take these high pressure, high stakes, high risk, high reward jobs, they know what they're getting themselves into. It's not necessarily like the folks that, I've worked at startups where I know that there's going to be a bit of sweat equity. I know there's not going to be these processes, these structures. Half the fun, at least to me,
Mhm.
is we've never done this before. And so we're going to have to figure it out on your own, or that I can wear many hats. So every day is different. But at these startups, I've seen people go into it and they think, I'm going to move to San Francisco or
Mhm.
California, work at a startup because it's the cool thing to do. Or I see all these people on Blind, they're making 200, 300, 400, 600K TC. I want to get in on that. And they don't
Mhm.
realize, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of work that's involved, or you do have to grind. It almost seems like this
Yeah.
contrast, at least from my naive view, where folks going into finance, their eyes wide open. They've prepared for it. It almost self selects a certain personality or a type of person. Whereas I feel like in tech, there's still some folks that, hey, I just want to rest and vest.
Mhm.
Or I don't really like working, being on call, or I don't want to put in those weekends. It diverges.
Yeah, it's the culture is more money driven, right? To me, tell me,
Okay,
I could be wrong, but it seems like software engineers and just technologists want to make obviously as much money as they can.
please, yeah.
But the but the tech folks, it could be bankers, it could be brokers, it could be traders, hedge funds, as we talked about. They're doing it for the money for the most part. They know they could cash out, make a fortune, cash out. They want all the accoutrements that come along with wealth. They want the Hamptons house. They want,
The
you know,
expensed lunches.
expense lunches, to go out to cool places, to show off to your friends and family. Hey, look where I'm working. Look what I'm doing. You leave your ATM kind of thing so they could see how much money you have in the bank. It's so where to me, it seems like in tech, yes, they may grumble about get paid more money, more stock. Do I go to Apple? Do I go to Amazon? Whereas I think Wall Street is more, where am I going to make the most money? How am I
Right.
going to, how am I going to be the next,
Max.
kingpin, the next, you know, billion on the billionaires list. I don't want to make it uncomfortable because we're talking about these people unfortunately passed away because of just
Sure.
hours and hours and hours of grinding away.
Crazy.
But you're going into it knowing that this is part of it. And if they say they don't know, I'm very sus about that. If you got to that level, you know what you're getting into, that this is what you're doing. And it's similar to other industries too, law, startups, where it's like you're just putting crazy hours, hoping it's going to pay off in the long run and have a lot of money.
Makes sense, right? Like in your line of business,
Mhm.
your day to day is money. So I would hope you're thinking about money all the
Mhm.
time. And so naturally, it seems like you should be rewarded with those. What does that typical compensation structure look like? Is it part of a commission that everyone working on the deal they earn, or is it a bonus structure?
Bonus is very big. Yeah, the bonus
Okay.
where you don't get as much stock, but you get bonuses. The
Okay.
bonus is sometimes, let's say you're making, let's say someone who's out 3, 4, 5 years as an investment banker, let's say 300,000 for the sake of argument, right? But their
Sure.
bonus might be 300,000. So they rely really heavily on the bonus, which is good but scary, because what happens, they're at the mercy of the market and how they do.
Oh,
Let's say we're going through this year and the market is up. Everybody in Wall Street and just average people who have investments are making a lot of money and everything is great and you do well. But if you pull out that Jenga log and it falls down, the person who's expecting that 300,000 bonus, all of a sudden, what they call it in Wall Street, getting a donut,
oh,
getting nothing,
big ol'
get zero
zero.
bagels, getting a bagel. And you're like,
Ego.
oh my God, I just worked my ass off for so long. And because this stupid trader made a mistake and now the company is losing millions or the market just had a mini crash.
Right.
Sorry, not only do you not get the bonus, but we're going to have to let you go.
Oh no.
So there are risks. There are
Or
risks
these
involved.
damn tech companies aren't
Yeah.
going public and they're staying private longer, right?
Mhm.
There's no IPOs and M&A deals to work on for these guys. So you don't get that bonus.
Rick, there's also other areas that I don't know if they would be attracted to or not, but you have a huge business is money management, mutual fund companies, ETFs, wealth managers who will manage your money, so many different things. And then even you have insurance companies and other analogous entities. A lot of tech may not think of, but the high paying jobs, you need these tech folks and
Right.
their openings, and you make a decent amount of money.
It sounds like the workload is still up there, but maybe
Yeah.
not the 100, 120 hours, 6, 7 days a
Yeah.
week. And perhaps you're still getting that huge bonus
Mm.
potential upside that is more immediate, right?
Yeah. They usually
So,
look at their base as like they're just paying the mortgage and all the other stuff.
okay.
And then the bonus comes
I was
in
going to
and
ask about that.
then
Yeah.
they pocket the bonus or invest the bonus or whatever you do. The compensation, is a little different than it is in the tech world. I think for tech people, if they're looking, fang, enough of this, I want something different and new, I would
Yeah.
definitely, highly recommend taking a look, take a look at Morgan Stanley. There's a job board on Blind. Take a look. I'm not sure, Rick, how many have jobs for those areas, but maybe we could get some more
They're
where,
there.
yeah, maybe go to a Morgan Stanley, go to Goldman Sachs, a Deutsche Bank, or UBS. There's a lot of big investment banks that pay well, but there are a lot of them out there, and they all need technologists. And as you pointed out early, it's not just software engineers. They're data scientists, data analysts, cybersecurity. Dude,
Oh, God.
cybersecurity is so huge. They can't get enough of these people. I've been speaking to so many CEOs, for writing
Right.
about stuff, and like I would say, well, like why, for whatever reason, they're not crossing over. But the needs, I want to say there's like 4 million jobs open for cybersecurity worldwide.
We need them.
Similarly, you need those people. So there's a lot to take a look at there.
I really appreciate this
Yeah.
walkthrough. It's eye-opening. It sounds like there's a lot to go around in
There's
terms of
so
jobs, in terms of comp, in terms of bonus, in terms of
absolutely.
just opportunity.
So there's a lot for those who are interested. It's not just one monolith. So you get a part of the action. You use your skills to cross over.
I really appreciate that walkthrough in the industry, the workload, the culture. Thanks so much for sharing your reporting, Jack.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great. And hopefully, folks will appreciate it because they may be thinking, hey, I've always heard of it, but I don't even know what to ask. So hopefully we helped address not just 100 hours, but in a way, this is even better because we really gave the whole picture.
That's it for The Blind Ambition. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a 5-star rating and a review. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.